This episode, installing a three-way switch, the Lutron Caseta solution. Well, folks, have you ever wanted to install a three-way switch into an existing home and found out you're going to have to rip your walls apart to install a new wire? And what does that cost? Oh my God, hold on to your wallet. Well, our friends at Lutron have the solution. They sent us a starter pack for us to review, and that's what we're going to talk about. Welcome to the Handyman Pros Radio Show, home improvement and maintenance tips from the pros. Thanks for listening to another edition of the Handyman Pros Radio Show, where our goal is to help save you time, money, and aggravation on your home maintenance and repair. This edition's entitled Installing a Three-Way Switch, the Lutron Caseta Solution. And to help me explain, I'm here with my ever cheerful co-host and old buddy, Johnny. Johnny, you wanted to do this exact project. And
I did,
yeah.
There is down in my basement. I have, and I should have done it from the get-go, but I never did. Was another switch for a particular light, and I have to I'm always walking around to turn this off. I turn it on, and then I forget it as I'm going up the stairs, and that's where the switch needed to be. But I didn't put one there. I put one closer to where all the lights are,
far away.
Far away. It's a hassle, it's a hassle.
Yeah.
So, when you came up and introduced me to this, I was like, okay, tell me more.
Yeah, it really is. It's kind of one of those things. It's a long story. Lutron sent us this to review, and I hate to say this, quite some time ago, but I actually ended up at a customer's house and installed one of these bad boys, and I was seriously impressed. This thing is very, very cool. So let's just kind of go over what is the whole system. And they sent us what's called a starter pack, which has a hub that you plug directly into the internet. There's other ways to do this, so we're not going to get into all of the real details on the process, but needless to say, it's easy. It allows you to smart wire your home without having to add additional wires or have the neutral wire in your switches, which is a huge advantage over some of the, I'm going to say at this point, older technology. It's new technology, but in a lot of smart switches, you had to have the neutral wire coming into the box, which in most houses, at least that are wired in the so-called traditional way, there's only two wires that come into the switch box, right, John? I mean, that's how I wire stuff. So you don't have that third neutral line. So putting in smart switches, I know in the past, I've always said, well, I can't do it unless your house is wired properly, which not many are, quite honestly.
Right. And you'll, if you ever put in some of, you run into this by putting in some of these thermostats and other things, if it needs the neutral wire, and it's like, now I'm into all that.
Yeah, you're back into ripping out or either fishing wire or doing whatever. It just makes it very, very difficult. Well, of course, Lutron, they're in the business of switches and that sort of thing. I mean, that's what they make. And they said, this is a problem. And so what they've developed is, this particular one is the Caseta system. And I think there's others they have a couple of different lines, and I think it's mostly how it looks. But anyway, they sent us this Caseta system, and it is really slick. So it allows you to smarten up your switches. It gives you all the access of smart switch. You can talk to it. You can say whatever your particular thing is, turn it on, turn it off, it allows you to put a wireless second switch out, which is just amazing.
Yeah. So to be clear, the ones that they sent us was the one with the hub.
With the hub, yes.
So you can buy these with the hub, which allows you to control multiple through their app.
Yep.
Or whatever, as you just described, Larry. Or you can buy it without the hub. So
correct.
You can get, a three-way switch in this case, fairly reasonable price for.
Yeah, I think I was looking. I know that
it's unbelievable, but
the starter kit I believe is around $100. And that includes the hub. And then I was actually in Lowe's this morning, and I was looking at them just because I was looking at them. And the switches themselves are only, I think they were
like $66,
$70, something like that. Roughly. Again, have some variation on pricing, but about $70, and that included both. By the way, that's both switches,
Yeah.
right? So it's not just one; it's two. So if you were to go down to buy a three-way switch, I know they're not that expensive, but by the time you run the wire, dude, this is an incredible bargain, and no drywall work and so forth and
Yeah,
so on.
yeah. I mean, listen. Even just buying a pack of wire to run,
Phew.
you're into $30 just for a small pack of wire, right? So,
Yeah, for a small
um,
pack of wire. One of the other things is you can use this switch as a remote as well, so you can carry it around if you want. Like
yeah,
it literally has its own self-contained
it's
battery.
a
It's really
real
really great.
thin. Well, okay. Let me back up. So, what I've seen here is that anything that's a wireless is kind of it's a little bit more robust. I won't want to use the word bulky, but for in terms of putting it in replacing a current switch, it's a little deeper
Yes, usually.
than maybe just a simple switch. Uh, but you wire it in just like every other switch which you just described, and it just communicates with this other very thin thing that looks like a switch, just like it, and you can put a plate over it on the wall without disturbing anything behind it on the wall,
Correct.
and
Correct.
it just communicates via RF.
Yeah, on a wireless thing, and so there's the main, as you said, there's the main switch, which is a little bit bigger than a traditional switch as far as dimensions go. It fits in the box just fine. It's not
So
it's
you
not a
just well,
question of space in the
this is
box.
just a something to think about to make sure that if you've got a bunch of wires in there, you're going to have to get those situated to put it in there. That's all.
Yeah, correct. If you've got a huge amount of wires in there,
Right.
but it's not as it's really not it's really not much. It's not much deeper than a traditional switch. It is wider. It's more like a traditional dimmer switch. If you've
Yeah,
ever put
that's
in a
that's about
traditional
what it
dimmer
is.
switch,
So
yeah, it's about the same dimensions as a traditional dimmer switch because it is a dimmer switch, right?
yeah.
So the mechanism in there for dimming the lights on and off is identical to the traditional dimmer switch. It's what's really interesting is that the satellite switch, if you want to call it that, it's thin. It's so thin that you can mount it on the wall and put a switch plate over the top of it, and you can't tell it's not in a box.
Yeah.
Like it
Or,
literally is
like
that
I was
thin.
saying earlier before the
Yeah.
show, was that I could put it next to my other gang box, and just get a three plate for it instead of two switches, and just put it right over the top without even changing out the box or anything.
Without changing the box out. So
Yeah.
what John's saying is if you have if you have a single like say you have a single gang box, right? You have one switch in it. You can get a double plate
Yeah.
and put it over it and put this switch in behind it, and you won't be able to tell that it's not a
It's
double box
unbelievable.
behind it.
And this thing
Yeah,
is a dimmer too. It has all the
and it's a dimmer.
functionality of the master uh
Correct.
one.
It does.
So
So
it's
they are identical in function
yeah.
and there's no wires. There's no wires. It's really simple. And then you also have the ability to access it via your voice commands and or via their app. And their app is pretty substantial. So you can do it basically. I don't really I'm not a big technology guy when it comes to turning my lights on and off from afar. I will say we are using our smart thermostat quite a bit, mostly to turn the temperature up in the house when we're in bed. Talk about lazy, but it's still pretty cool. But if you were away and for example, say you wanted to turn your lights on wherever you're going and you just happen to be it's dark whatever and you can flip it on from the app, so it's very cool technology. I was really impressed. I'm really impressed with the fact that you don't have to work. It's two wires, so it's just traditional black and white wiring. You don't need the neutral line, which is great. So a hotline comes in and a hotline goes out, and then it's the wireless, and then the thinness of the auxiliary or the secondary switch is truly amazing.
So I know some
Uh,
of you out there are probably thinking, well, how does the secondary one work? And as I understand it, it's got a little replaceable battery in it, and these
mhm.
things last for like 10 years. That's what I heard, was almost 10
It's
years. So
it's very low draw.
it's very low
It's very
draw.
low draw.
It's incredible. It's incredible technology. I'm gonna, I think you guys out there that are doing this kind of stuff, you need to take a look at this.
Well, as we always say, we try to be solutions experts, right? And if somebody, so people don't know about this product, or at least I didn't. I didn't realize that there's now wireless switches like this. And that when I did this one in the cut, I literally had just gotten the box. They had just sent me the box. I hadn't even opened it yet. And I walk into the client's house, and we're actually moving his Caseta switch, which I was like, okay. And I was like, oh, perfect. I've got this sitting at the house, you know? So I go and I put the thing in, and I was like, this is freaking awesome. And he's, of course, the owner he's already in on the app and stuff, and he's flipping the lights on and off from his phone, which I thought was kind of cool. But that ability not to have to run that wire, I was like, this is a game changer.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It's really nice. And so, you need to familiarize yourself with this new this new technology that's out there. Now, these things have been around for a little while, but like you, I never knew about a couple of years, but I would say that, I just never really got into these things. And I never knew that they existed like that. So, yeah.
Well, we have this preconceived notion, and I call it a preconceived notion. If you're going to do a three-way switch, you're going to have to run wire.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, that's the preconceived notion. And of course, the running of the wire is really expensive. I mean, just to run a wire downstairs, and by the time you do the drywall work and all, and get it looking right and do the paint, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, it's easily at least, I don't know, in Atlanta, it's at least $750 at least. And
if
I
you
mean,
have somebody
I think that's
do
actually
it,
low. Yeah. And I actually think that's low depending on complexity. That's a lot of money versus this thing is just roughly $100, and about the time it takes you to swap out a switch, which is 15 minutes or so.
Right.
I mean, it's really simple.
Right.
Works like a champ.
Yeah.
I was really impressed. I was like, this is just to me, it really was. It's almost a paradigm shift. It's like, I don't need wires. Wow. Okay. Like just that good to me, So, what else we got on this thing, Johnny? I mean, this is a game changer.
I think,
folks, if you need a three-way switch,
I think you hit it on the head was, familiarize yourself with these things. Cause, I knew smart switches were around, but the three-way thing really caught my attention just as we started off, because once again, it's how many times did you want a three-way switch, and you didn't want to go through the hassle of the money and the aggravation of just, running the wire, especially if you can't get in from behind it. I mean, if you got a wall, you got to open it up. You got to open it up, and you're into all that stuff. So,
and another thing that I was just thinking about, if you have a pre-existing three-way switch and you put this switch in on the existing three-way switch, you can take the remote and put it someplace else. And so now you have 3 individual switches to turn those lights on and off.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just
so even in a three-way switch, a traditional, you can only put a dimmer on one of them.
Right.
With this, it's, and I got this exact issue with my stairs. I got the dimmer on one end of the stairs, and I can't have a dimmer on the other end of the stairs.
Well, Johnny, I'm available this afternoon if you need a good handyman to come over and do the job for you.
So, with this, I would have, the dimmers on both ends.
On both sides. Yeah,
I know, it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
It's a very inexpensive replacement. It basically for two. If you think about it this way, if you're going to put a dimmer on, what's a dimmer switch cost? Last one I bought was about $35. Yeah, $35. So for the cost of the 2 dimmer switches, you're into this smart switch.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So that's a pretty good deal in my world. So
sounds good, man.
It's the Lutron. I'm going to read it off the box. It's the Lutron Smart Hub Smart Dimmer Switch Kit is what it is. We're very impressed. We really like the idea. And for both homeowners and for handymen, either way, it's a solution to a problem that's existed for quite some time. And we like solutions, don't we, John?
Yes, that's right.
All right, Johnny, take us home.
All right, folks, check out this switch. Once again, it's a real game changer. So stay safe. We'll see you guys next week on the Handyman Pros Radio Show.